Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to play some games with Palkia VSTAR. Palkia has gotten a lot better with this new set with the introduction of Area 0 Underdepths that says if we have a Terra Pokemon in play, we can have 8 bench Pokemon. So this of course charges up Palkia's attack that does 60 plus 20 more damage for each bench Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's. So just with our bench at 8, we can do 220, and then adding our opponent's bench in, if they have 5, that goes up to 320. It ramps really quick and it makes it hard for our opponent to play the game because they can either bench a lot of Pokemon and let us one-shot everything, or limit their bench and then we're like muffling their setup, which also helps us. Now this is going to run on the Noctowl engine. Noctowl says when we play this Pokemon from our hand, we can search our deck for 2 trainer cards if we have a Terra Pokemon in play. So this is going to be the whole engine. It gets us any trainer card that's Stadium, Tool, Item, or Supporter, which is extremely good. The Terra Pokemon we're going to play are Terapagos and a Wellspring Ogerpon. Terapagos can be a solid attacker. For 2 colorless, it does 30 for each of our bench Pokemon. So with 8, that'll be 240. Wellspring Ogerpon can do 20 for 1 and our opponent can't retreat next turn, or for water double colorless, we do 100 to the active and 120 to one of the bench Pokemon, and then shuffle all the energy back in. So these are solid attacking options. To get all of our Noctowl set up, we have the Fan Rotom that says on our first turn, we can search our deck for 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less and put them in our hand. So we can just grab like 2 Hoothoot and a Noctowl and hold the Noctowl for the next turn. It is really good. As with any Palkia deck, we're able to attack with Greninja, so we have the Prime Catcher Canceling Clone combo that we can grab off a single Noctowl. We also have Mew EX and Fezandipiti for a little bit of extra draw, and we have 1 copy of Glass Trumpet and 1 Energy Switch in this deck. I find that it can be hard in some games to keep our attackers going, so with this we're able to accelerate a little bit of energy into play, since Glass Trumpet says as long as we have a Terra Pokemon in play, we can attach a basic energy card from our discard pile to 2 of our colorless Pokemon. Kind of is unfortunate that's only colorless Pokemon, which is why we have the Energy Switch to either power up a new Palkia in a single turn, or it lets us attack with Radiant Greninja back-to-back turns. It is really good. Yeah, so that is the deck. Let's get into the games. Alright, so this first game, I won the coin flip and chose to go first. I've been going first into every matchup with this deck. We really want to just get a Palkia down with an energy attachment, and that is definitely not going to happen with this hand. This is a pretty bad hand. I was hoping to top deck like an Ultra Ball or Nest Ball so I could get Squawkabilly and, you know, at least get something going, but I do just end up benching the second Hoothoot. I was also at the beginning of the game kind of struggling with what to start with. I ended up deciding to start Hoothoot, so it seems just generally safer to have a 1 prizer in the active when I don't know what I'm going up against. The Ogerpon wouldn't be the worst start in the world either. Like going second, there are some situations when you could just lock something in the active for a turn and maybe your opponent wouldn't be able to attack, but I don't know how really relevant that is right now. A lot of decks are playing switches and the dark decks have the Petrant and so on. So my only chance of getting a knockout this next turn is with my Terapagos, and if they knock out my Hoothoot with like their Raikou or their Iron Hands or something like that, I 100% need to get a return knockout if it's with the Iron Hands. If it's with the Raikou, I can technically win if they miss a turn at some point by not getting a knockout the next turn and then getting one the turn after, but these 2 prize, like just complete prize race matchups aren't generally the most fun. It's just whoever kind of draws better usually. And I don't know, the Palkia deck, I feel like is if the Miraidon deck whiffs the knockout going second, I think the Palkia deck is pretty favored because with the Hoothoot engine now, you're like not really going to miss much. You're going to be able to pick out all the cards you need every turn and you're not reliant on generators. So really all that I'm hoping is that they have no way to get an attacker up and get it into the active. They do forest for a generator, which made me think that they were going to be able to attack this turn or have a switch in their hand, but they don't, so that is kind of weird. I end up irritating for Greninja and Vessel. To do anything, I need to start getting water energy into the discard pile, so I might as well start with that. Vessel away the clone, it's completely useless, and see what I Greninja into. Now, I do get a Pokemon and another way to get a Pokemon, so I think I'm like one card off of being able to grab like Prime Catcher and knocking out this Raikou, because I can Ultra Ball for a Hoothoot, grab the Trumpet, but I also need to get another Ultra Ball to Ultra Ball for another Hoothoot, and then I don't know, I just wouldn't have a combination or enough cards in my hand to pull that off. So what I end up doing, I spend quite a while here trying to figure out what to do. I grab Nest Ball and Ultra Ball so I can grab another Hoothoot, and I can also grab a Mew EX and play out my whole hand and try and hit like Prime Catcher, or I guess Switch wouldn't be that good because I can't knock out the Iron Hands in the active. I'd really just like to hit Prime Catcher, but the chances of that happening are pretty slim. I spend way too long thinking about this because I'm like kind of convinced that there's a way that I can pull this off. I'm just not seeing it. But even watching it back, I don't really know that there's a way, because I can Noctowl for Trumpet and Nest Ball and draw with Mew, because the most I'd be able to, I guess maybe I could have, yeah, I could have knocked out the Squawkabilly with my Terapagos if I had grabbed Prime Catcher there. I'm pretty sure I would have had 5, that's 150. No, I would have been 10 damage short, so yeah, there's no way that I was knocking out anything. I'm pretty sure I did that math right. But yeah, I could have brought up the Squawk and hit it for 150, which is completely pointless, so I do end up just drawing with Mew and passing. I get into the Energy Switch, which if I had 2 energy in the discard pile, I could have Energy Switched to the active and retreated and hit into this Iron Hands with my Terapagos, but I don't really think that is worthwhile, because just hitting it for 210 is not worth it for sure. I would need one more bench Pokemon. I really just needed more cards in my hand, but they are not having the best start themselves. They get down a Mew here and they restart, and they restart into 1 card, and I'm pretty sure the card they got was Lumineon, or they were holding it in their hand to see if maybe if they got Switch Card off the restart, they could have gotten Boss and knocked out my Terapagos. So I just assumed they're grabbing Prime Catcher, but either they didn't. I would imagine the Prime Catcher's prized. I think that's really the only reasonable explanation here as to why they didn't grab Prime Catcher off of the Arven, because it would have basically won them the game. Now that I can attack with this Terapagos for a knockout, it puts them in a really weird spot where they need to get 3 energy on a Miraidon to knock me out. But I just attach an energy to the Palkia and energy switch it. Energy switch is useless to me from this point on, and I just want to burn it so that I could draw another card with Mew. And I have an extra attachment down, and I just hold the hand. There's really no point in doing anything else with it. I can make the decisions of what I want to do next turn, because Stretcher also gets me Noctowl for next turn, which is pretty good. So yeah, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. Took the first 2 prizes. They can of course get back in the prize trade by using Iron Hands to knock out either one of my Palkia Vs or my Wellspring Ogerpon. So this game is definitely not over. They throw down Iron Bundle. This is a weird decision, because I'm pretty confident that they're just going to end up retreating to a 1 prizer and passing this turn. And even if I throw up a 1 prizer, it doesn't matter because they can Iron Hands it. So I just make the decision to throw up my Mew. Now it is much easier for me to retreat into an attacker next turn, and it's kind of the same result either way, where they're going to take 2 prizes. Now that I'm thinking about it though, I guess there would be an argument to retreating to Noctowl to make it so that they would have to put their Iron Hands into the active. and then I could knock it out, and then that would like remove their way to fix the prize trade. But I didn't really think about that, and I was just hoping to Night Stretcher for Noctowl for boss next turn anyway. But yeah, I vessel away the water energy, which the area 0 Underdepths are useless in my hand, so why not vessel that? But I needed to get another water into the discard pile to accelerate to my Palkia. So I just got rid of that, and I Greninja'd away another water. Now I can use Palkia's VSTAR power for 2 energy. I grab Boss and check if my Prime Catcher is there, because now I have Boss for this turn and Irida for next turn to grab like Palkia VSTAR and Prime Catcher or whatever I need. So yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot. I don't expect my opponent to be playing much disruption because most of the Miraidon decks I've been seeing are just playing like 4 Arven and 4 Boss or something like that. So I'm pretty sure I'm almost guaranteed to win at this point. I am, yeah, in a pretty good spot and didn't really expect to, and with the start that I had, didn't expect to end up winning this game, but my opponent stumbled a little bit too. And we just had Noctowl, which let us pick all the cards that we needed out of the deck, which usually leads to being in a really good spot. Just being able to tutor out whatever you want every turn is pretty broken. So now my opponent is just thinking if there's any way they can win. They saw I had Irida, probably assume I can get Prime Catcher, and they retreat and knock out my Palkia. I can just promote Terapagos and swing for 210 for knockout and the game. Alright, so this game we are up against Charizard, and I end up losing the coin flip. My opponent chooses to go first. I had no clue what to start based on my hand. I ended up starting Palkia. I don't really know if that was the best choice in the world. I don't know. My thought process was I want to keep the Terapagos in my hand so that I have access to a Terra Pokemon to unlock my stadium and the Noctowls and stuff. And I didn't want my Fezandipiti to get knocked out because it's a really good draw. So I ended up starting the Palkia. Not 100% sure if that was correct or not, but that's where we are now. Now here I am gonna Ultra Ball either for a Rotom or Squawkabilly. I don't think I played Squawkabilly at this point. It took me a little too long to realize that this deck needed Squawkabilly, so that is kind of embarrassing. Now this part kind of sucks too because I have to bench this Terapagos in order for my Noctowls to even work, so I can't bench both my Hoothoots, which kind of sucks. That would have been like a perfect hand there too. Just Ultra Ball for Squawkabilly and get rid of the hand. I really hope I didn't play it in this game. That'd be kind of embarrassing, but they Iono us. Our hand ends up being pretty good. I do believe with this hand, I can get into Greninja, even if they put down a Manaphy. I'm pretty sure I could have got Canceling Clone. I believe I was playing that the whole time. I just read the Charmeleon there. I'm always nervous about if the Charmeleon like says it blocks damage or something, so I just read it to make sure. Better safe than sorry kind of thing. Now here I can Noctowl for Switch and Vessel and basically get the full combo to knock out both of their Charmanders with Greninja, which is generally pretty broken. I'm not sure what I want to grab here for the item off Irida, so I just end up grabbing Night Stretcher. I wish I could remember. There was something else that I should have grabbed. I think it was Super Rod. I was playing Super Rod at this point, and I should have just grabbed that and Super Rodded back in my Mew and my Fezandipiti and Nest Ball for the Fezandipiti, because that was kind of my thought process. I wanted to get down a Pokemon to have access to like drawing cards for when they take a knockout, or if they take a knockout next turn, but they would need an awful lot. Yeah, so I wicked overthought that. Yeah, they would need too much. There's no way they're taking a knockout next turn. We're not that far in the game for Radiant Charizard. And yeah, so I just ended up Nest Balling for a Hoothoot and Greninja'ing both of their Charmanders. And you would think that this game is basically over at this point, but there's a little bit of a spoiler. It is not. I think I'm one turn behind on my attachments, or I miss an attachment at some point in the game, I think, which makes it a lot more competitive than it should be. This is also before I was playing the trumpet and the energy switch combo, but this game made me realize that this deck does end up needing a bit of energy acceleration at some point if you don't draw like perfectly for the entire game. So I did end up adding that in. It also lets you Greninja back-to-back turns. Like I could just grab Trumpet and Energy Switch and then Greninja both their Charmanders again, and at that point surely they would just concede, because there would be like almost nothing they could do. But I want to just keep taking 2 prizes and set up my board to be as resilient as possible. So I get down Fez and Prime Catcher their Rotom. At this point I'm just kind of thinking I'm just trying to prize race them. I'm not trying to like disrupt them by knocking out Pidgey, and their hand's 7 cards. They haven't played any candies yet anyway. They're probably going to have access to attack and do what they want, even if I were to knock out the Pidgey anyway. So they Arven for Candy and Defiance Band. I don't think that, yeah, they definitely don't need the Defiance Band to attack, so they could attach that, or it could just be like Ultra Ball fodder or whatever. And now this is where it gets super awkward, because I can't knock out this Charizard, and if I promote my Palkia and they just knock me out, I basically lose on the spot. And them vacuuming away my stadium makes it a lot weirder. I don't know, this is where the game gets pretty difficult. I'm struggling here with deciding what to get rid of. I end up choosing a Hoothoot to get rid of, because if they use Dusknoir to knock out my other one, I do have decent odds to just get a boss and knock out one of their benched 1 prizers. So here I think I end up promoting Palkia, and I just kind of like figured that I lost at this point, which is kind of crazy based on like the way that the game started. But what I want to do here, I'm taking a little bit to decide. I think my opponent like forgot to pick their prizes or something. I was playing pretty slow this game, so maybe they were just like mad that I was going so slow or something and took forever. But what I'm thinking here is that I'm just going to manually attach to Greninja and pass. And if they can't bring up my Greninja and knock it out, or get down like a Manaphy or something, I win. Or if they do knock it out but bench any more Pokemon, like even 1 more Pokemon, I can win the game with Palkia, knocking out the Charizard with my Kieran. So I'm pretty sure that those are the only 2 ways I can win this game. So I grab a vessel, and here I'm just trying to think if there's any other options that I have, but I'm pretty sure there's not, because I'm not playing any energy acceleration. I bench the Ogerpon so that I can have another Terra Pokemon in play in case they decide to like counter catcher my Terapagos and disrupt my hand. Then I'd still be able to use the Noctowl, and they counter catcher my Greninja, and basically all they had to do was knock it out, and then next turn they could do all this and get out their Pidgeot and counter catcher again, or just boss up my Palkia, knock it out, win the game. But they evolved the Pidgeot, which is already pretty much enough for me to like have a chance to win the game. But now they're also going to bench more Pokemon. This, what they do next, is I always find really funny when they're worried about Greninja and then get the Manaphy after either the person uses Greninja or they knock the Greninja out. I don't know if they're worried about like Thornton. I don't know what the deal with that was, but they bench Manaphy. Now here I'm just like debating if I send up Palkia, if I have like enough cards in my hand to win the game. Because if I don't, I would have to bring something up and stick it in the active with Water Ogerpon, but I'm pretty sure that I have enough here. So I send up the Palkia. I flip the script into the area 0, which pretty much guarantees that I have enough different Pokemon I can put in play to be able to at least knock out the Pidgeot. And I just have to grab Nest Ball and Night Stretcher. And now I can either fill my bench and knock out this Charizard with the Kieran, or boss up the Pidgeot. I was gonna knock out the Charizard, but I decided to just boss the Pidgeot. It makes so like nothing weird can happen and my Kieran doesn't work or something like that, and knock out the Pidgeot. I like think way too much into that stuff because I'm always like, oh, I'll knock out their Charizard to show them that it didn't matter that they put Pidgeot in play. I would have won either way, but that's, I don't know. I way overthink literally everything, but that is the Palkia deck, and I don't know, it's pretty insane. It seems like that was of course the matchup that made me decide to put the Trumpet and Energy Switch combo into it, which I've found makes it quite a bit better. Just having the option to pull attacks out of nowhere beyond just using Palkia's VSTAR ability is pretty insane. Definitely try it out for yourselves. I would be pretty surprised if this doesn't end up being like a top tier contender in this format. Yeah, like or dislike, comment, and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.